Steve Kim for UCN Live. I'm here with the head of HBO Sports, Peter Nelson. Peter, you cannot clone yourself, but you have a split-site doubleheader September 10th here at the Forum at the O2 Arena in London with Gennady Golovkin. From a logistical standpoint, from your perspective as the network, how difficult an endeavor was this?
It's very easy, honestly. We've worked with Sky, who's the host broadcaster for the Golovkin-Brook fight previously. Tom Loeffler, Eddie Hearn, always great promoters with whom to work. And when this event had an opportunity of coming together, it was very easy to get all the different puzzle pieces in place.
Tom, going to September 10th, there were a lot of dates, and originally it was Gennady Golovkin against Chris Eubank. Curveball was thrown late. When did you recognize that this thing may swerve in a completely different direction with Kell Brook?
Whenever you're working on a fight for Gennady Golovkin and you're looking for an opponent, you know that 99% is 0%. We've had plenty of opponents who've had plenty of money and career-changing opportunities put in front of them, and then when it came down to sign a contract to actually go and fight Gennady Golovkin, very few have had the chutzpah that Kell Brook has had in really stepping up and then showing the world that he's willing to take on any challenger in the world.
From your perspective, Peter, did you ever have the impression or the belief that Eubank was going to sign his name on the dotted line?
Like I said, until I actually see a contract signed, I never take it for granted that anyone's getting in the ring against a guy as formidable as Gennady Golovkin.
I talked to Tom Loeffler a lot on this platform, and he says that getting fighters to actually get into the ring with Golovkin is difficult. Now, a lot of promoters, they do a lot of grandstanding, they make a lot of claims. But from your perspective, do you believe what Tom Loeffler is saying is to be accurate and true?
We've struggled with it from day one with Golovkin, and various reasons have always been cited where fighters say, we'll fight him, but just not next is pretty much the most popular excuse not to fight him. They've said that his career wasn't there yet. They said, well, he's not a unified champion yet. They said, well, he only gets his haircut on Thursdays. We only want to fight him when he gets his haircut on Fridays. So for us, we've always cast a very wide net because we know that fighters have begun to try to trade on the currency of Gennady's name as a pound-for-pound star to say, I want to fight him, only to find that at the last minute when career, life-changing money is put in front of them, they decide to go a different direction.
Was there any hesitation on your part to accept Kell Brook, given the fact he's a career welterweight who has never fought at 160?
I think when you see speed versus power, when you see the dynamics of a fight like that, it all comes back to the old adage of styles make fights. I think that anyone who thinks that Kell Brook doesn't stand a shot is fooling themselves, particularly in front of a hometown crowd. It's going to be sold out at the O2. It's going to be a tremendous night.
Peter Nelson of HBO joins us. The other half of the equation is at the Forum here in Inglewood, California, September 10th, day-night doubleheader. As it relates to Roman Gonzalez, now that he is now starring underneath his own marquee as the main event, is it clear now he is one of the pillars of HBO Sports?
I think that whenever you're talking about a pound-for-pound star like Roman Gonzalez, who's really earned his keep in terms of the recognition that's been granted him by the media, the fans, and his opponents, that a logical step up to fight for a record-setting fourth divisional title as a countryman from Nicaragua. This is an immense opportunity for him, and it's a great privilege for us to be partnered with Tom Loeffler, K2, and Roman Gonzalez on this event.
Well, like football coaches, we're just going to take it one game at a time. Cuadras is a tough out. I think this is going to be a solid test. With that said, if Chocolatito should win his fourth world title in 2017, do you believe that you will have the ability, along with Taken, to make fights, the rematch against Estrada and a fight against Inoue?
I think that what we've seen from Roman Gonzalez in this fight against Carlos Cuadras alone, what you see is that he's always been willing to fight anyone. That's why he fought Estrada the first time. It's why he's fought plenty of champions along the way. It's why he's built a Hall of Fame resume already, and he's entering the prime years of his career. So this isn't someone who's ever ducked anybody, and Mr. Honda likes putting together real fights. I'm sure we're going to see them. But first, to your point, September 10th, he's got to perform.
Peter, do you realize how happy you made Twitter by having Soto Carras Kamagai, the rematch on the broadcast?
Listen, I didn't make anybody happy.
A man of the people here, Peter Nelson.
No, those two fighters put on a great show, and then when it came time to evaluate whether or not that fight in a rematch was something we'd entertain, it was a no-brainer. And I think that the media deserves a lot of credit for that because there's so much mythologizing about undefeated records these days. And here are two fighters who always go and perform. And the authenticity of the competition itself is what the media responded to with that fight the first time. It's what they're going to respond to the second time. And luckily for us, they're going to be able to get to see it if you subscribe to HBO.
Peter, you have a position of power and influence. The question is, though, in a situation like this, though, did you look down from the ivory tower and say, you know what, let's please the masses? And just how much do you actually listen to the media and the fans as it relates specifically to social media?
I'm a fight fan. I'm there in the masses with everybody else. I like it there. That's where I live.
A man of the people, Peter Nelson.
So I'm a fight fan first and foremost. So when it comes to being able to put fights on the network, I'm always looking for the fights that as a fan I would want to see. And the question is always, what's the story that we're telling? Where are these fights going from and where are they leading to?
Peter, this past weekend in Las Vegas, it was Terence Crawford making his pay-per-view debut, easily outpointing Victor Postol in a very classy performance. Maybe not the most exciting, but certainly very effective. What type of step forward do you think he made this past weekend?
I think he demonstrated that he's a top pound-for-pound fighter in a way that he hadn't previously, because if you saw with Gamboa fight, he's fighting a guy coming up in weight. When he's fighting Lundy, another guy who's coming up largely in weight, even though he's risen in weight as well. But I think what this fight really showed is that going in champion to champion against Postol, he completely nullified Victor Postol. Everything that Victor Postol does well, Victor Postol couldn't do. And he really showed an array of skills, the likes of which we haven't seen in a completeness of fighter in quite a while.
Going into your September schedule, September 10th, we talked about Golovkin, September 17th on HBO pay-per-view from Dallas/Arlington, Canelo Alvarez. Now, if they should both win, can we expect to see both Golovkin and Canelo at the end of the year on your network?
I mean, anything can happen in boxing because on the 10th and on the 17th, you don't know, guys get cut, injured, God forbid. So we're going to evaluate it, but our plans as of right now is that those fighters have said they would like to fight 3 times in 2016, and we're about trying to make those things come true, both for them and for the fans.
Okay, this is Peter Nelson of HBO Sports. Peter, as always, thank you for the time. This is Steve Kim for UCN Live.